For centuries, people have whispered the same question. Why was the Ethiopian Bible banned? Why does it contain more books than any other Bible on earth, including texts like Enoch and Jubilees that disappeared everywhere else? Was it suppressed? Was it dangerous? Or was it simply different? Today, we separate myth from history and uncover the real reason the Ethiopian Bible was never destroyed, yet remained hidden from much of the world. What do people mean by banned? First, an important clarification. Inside Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Bible was never banned. Within the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, it has always been sacred, authoritative, and publicly read. So where does the idea of banning come from? It comes from outside Ethiopia, from Europe, the Middle East, and later Protestant Christianity, where many of the books in the Ethiopian Bible were rejected, excluded, or forgotten. But why? To Western Christians, these books didn't just feel unfamiliar. They felt theologically dangerous. The modern Christian Bible contains 66 books, while the Ethiopian Bible contains 81 books, which included the controversial Book of Enoch, Book of Jubilees, 1–3 Maccabean, expanded biblical traditions preserved in Ge'ez. These books were once widely read in ancient Judaism and early Christianity, but between the 4th and 5th centuries, church councils in the Roman Empire began standardizing the biblical canon. Texts that didn't align with emerging theology were gradually removed. Enoch, for example, spoke openly about angels descending to earth, a heavenly judgment, a cosmic Messiah figure. For many church leaders, this material felt too apocalyptic, too mystical, too uncontrollable. Before there was a New Testament, before creeds, councils, and church hierarchies, before even Noah and the Ark, there was Enoch. The Book of Enoch tells of a world watched by heaven itself, where God rules not alone, but through a heavenly council of powerful beings. Some of these beings, called the Watchers, descended to earth, and they do the unthinkable. They teach forbidden knowledge, such as mystical charms and the art of war to mankind. They corrupt humanity. They have relations with humans, producing violent, bloodthirsty offspring that began devouring the world. As chaos spread, humanity races toward extinction. And in the middle of this cosmic disaster, God chooses one man, Enoch, not a king, not a priest, but a righteous witness. Enoch is taken beyond the sky, through gates of fire and crystal, into the court of God himself. There, he becomes something terrifying and unique, a messenger between God's council and the fallen angels. He delivers their sentence. It is grim. No forgiveness, no escape. Chains, darkness, and judgment. And Enoch is shown the future where there will be a final reckoning, a chosen one seated in glory, and a humanity that will either be restored or destroyed. This is not folklore. This is apocalyptic theology, and it was once scripture to the earliest believers. So by the 4th century, when church leaders in the Roman world came together at the Council of Nicaea to solidify its control and authority over the world by standardizing the biblical canons of Christianity, they faced a problem with Enoch, who expanded the role of angels at a time when they were being minimized, presented divine judgment that was outside of church authority, described a cosmic order older than Rome itself, showed visions that were powerful, but dangerously independent. So, the Book of Enoch was not burned. It was excluded, stopped being copied or taught, allowed to simply vanish. Everywhere, except in Ethiopia. Ethiopia never participated in Roman canonical councils. Ethiopian Christianity developed along older Jewish Christian lines, preserving texts in Ge'ez, a sacred language inaccessible to outsiders. While Europe forgot Enoch, Ethiopia memorized it. When Europeans rediscovered the Book of Enoch in Ethiopia centuries later, they were stunned. What they thought was lost forever had been alive the entire time. Was the Ethiopian Bible dangerous? To centralized power structures? Yes, because it taught that. God rules through a divine council. Angels can fall. Knowledge can corrupt. Judgment comes directly from heaven, not institutions. So instead of rewriting Scripture in its entirety, the Western world continued with the practice of narrowing the Scripture. But Ethiopia did not. So, to answer the question, was the Ethiopian Bible banned? No. Rather, it was ignored and excluded by empires, but protected by the faith of Ethiopian monks. What others feared, Ethiopia preserved. What others silenced, Ethiopia remembered. And at the heart of it all stands Enoch, a man who walked with God and returned with a warning that cannot be forgotten. The ancient text remained hidden because Ethiopia was geographically and politically independent and never participated in those Roman councils. While the rest of Christendom narrowed its biblical canons, Ethiopia preserved the older tradition. Another reason the Ethiopian Bible stayed hidden is language. Its scriptures were preserved in Ge'ez, a sacred language unknown in Europe. For centuries, few outsiders could read it, fewer still could translate it, and almost no one had access to the manuscripts. So while Europe debated theology in Latin and Greek, Ethiopia quietly safeguarded ancient texts in Ge'ez that only monks could read. This wasn't secrecy, it was protection. The Ethiopian Bible wasn't banned. It survived because Ethiopia refused to erase its past. What the world lost, Ethiopia preserved. What others trimmed, Ethiopia protected. And what some called dangerous, Ethiopia called holy. Stay tuned for a full episode on the controversial Books of Enoch and Jubilees, a breakdown of how these texts influence Ethiopian theology today.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. The ancient pages still have stories left to tell.